In my case, my mom did say that I was an oopsie. In terms of ultimate origin of the universe, I note that the logic, everything has to have a beginning, so the universe had to have a creator, has a ton of flaws. First, if the proposition is true, then that creator had to have a creator, you've just kicked causation down the road. If you say, no, God's the exception and doesn't need to have a creator, why can't you make the same assumption about the universe, that it is eternal? Equally importantly, even assuming that the existence of a universe implies a creator, that tells us nothing about its nature. It certainly doesn't flow that, because there's a creator of the universe, it must be anthropomorphic, or, it wants to be worshipped, or, it established an afterlife, or, it gets pissed if you wear mixed fabrics. Indeed, the assumption that, there must have been a creator, is quite compatible with, and it put the entirety of its essence into the act of creation and no longer exists. However, the more technical answer to my attitude about the processes of creation is that as best as I understand it, the most current scientific thinking is the Lambda CDM model, Wikipedia. I don't claim to have any deep understanding of it. The use of the term, accident, is somewhat misleading and I think focuses on the wrong question. If I spill coffee on my shirt, the resulting pattern is an accident, in the sense of being unplanned. But it is not an accident, in the sense that we really understand the processes by which that stain resulted from the original impetus. I don't believe in God and I also don't believe we were made by accident. Just because we can't look beyond 13.8 billion years back in time, just because we still don't fully understand quantum physics and mechanics, which is the realm in which time and space behaved prior to the Big Bang, doesn't mean we have to therefore assume some God or creator was behind it all. Evidence suggests that life and evolution began some 3.5 to 4 billion years ago. I don't think there was too much happening at that point that it could have caused an accident. Having a belief in any God means two things. One, the blind assumption that just because we don't know, therefore it must be God. And two, willfully mistaking actual credible scientific evidence as evidence for God's existence. If you believe God exists and is the creator for everything, then that is a conclusive truth that every bit of information you receive must reconcile with. Facts must be twisted in order to justify your beliefs. How does time and space work in the quantum world? No idea, so therefore God must have created them. How did non-organic material become organic? No idea, so therefore God did it. How do we not float off the planet? Gravity, and God created it. Just because you have decided to stop learning and understanding how the world works, doesn't mean the rest of us have. Our creation is far too complicated to have been by accident. How did the Earth come to be exactly the right distance from the Sun? How did the water system come into place? How about the oxygen and carbon monoxide process? How were we created to have 5 senses that detect our sight in color, in 3 dimension, our hearing, taste, touch and smell? How about our reproductive system? We were created to enjoy life to the full. How do the birds know to fly south for the winter? How do they know which direction to fly? How do the baby whales know to surface to take in their first breath of air? Why do the penguins stay in the cold? Because God created them to do these things. You could take a watch apart and put the pieces in a box. You could shake it forever but it would never come out a watch again. It would take a designer to put it back as a working watch. The Earth is far too complicated to have just happened. It also took a designer. I do not believe in God. I also do not believe creation was made by accident. In fact, I prefer not to use belief as a description. I prefer evidence-based reasoning to believing in received wisdom. Any belief in God comes from received wisdom and is not supported by objective evidence. It is perfectly possible to give a rational account for everything without using the concept of God. As for belief and faith, they are not necessarily such a good thing. By the way, how do you decide between the different accounts of creation across the world? Are the Hindus wrong because they do not believe in the Christian God? Are the Muslims wrong because they believe Allah? Are the Buddhists wrong because they believe in the universal mind? I think they may have as deep a conviction as you do that their account of creation is correct. Here is a way of accounting for creation without bringing in the concept of AGOD.